Admiral Jake Morrison drifted in the silent expanse of his command station, gazing out at a canvas of endless darkness and scattered stars. No one could ever guess that humanity's greatest secret lay hidden just a few miles away. He tapped a button on his wrist device. "Lisa, give me an update on New Terra." Chief Engineer Lisa Carter's voice resonated clearly. "Admiral, we're at 96% completion. The main engines are ready for testing, and the armor plating on sections 12 through 18 is finished. We're ahead of schedule." Jake smiled. After 3 decades of relentless effort, they were almost done. New Terra wasn't just another ship. It was the size of Earth's moon and possessed the power to annihilate entire fleets with a single shot. The most remarkable aspect was its absolute secrecy. Commander Ryan Phillips, in charge of safeguarding their secret, joined Jake at the observation window. Ryan looked weary but content. "The Federation still believes we're just mining asteroids out here," Ryan remarked. "Their spy satellites show our workers moving rocks and metals. They have no idea what we're truly building." Jake nodded. The Galactic Federation treated humans as mere laborers, assigning humanity the mundane tasks of mining and construction. The alien races considered humans too primitive to construct anything dangerous. They were gravely mistaken. 50 years prior, when humans first joined the Federation, they were eager to encounter other intelligent species. The reptilian Vorac were formidable warriors, the insect-like Crean were master builders, and the Athereals, beings of pure energy, claimed to be the galaxy's most intelligent race. Initially, humans sought to learn from these advanced species, offering friendship and cooperation. However, the aliens viewed humans differently. To them, humans were just another primitive species capable of basic labor. The Federation assigned humans simple tasks: mining asteroids for rare metals, constructing space stations using alien designs, and transporting goods between star systems. The aliens paid them but never regarded humans as equals. Dr. Amanda Foster, one of humanity's finest scientists, worked in the weapons lab deep within New Terra. The weapons she designed could cleave planets in half, each gun larger than most alien warships. "The main cannon is ready for its first test," Amanda reported over the communication system. "But we need to be cautious. If we fire it at full power, every sensor in the solar system will detect the energy signature." Jake understood the predicament. They had spent decades building their clandestine weapon. If the Federation discovered New Terra prematurely, all their efforts would be wasted. Worse, the aliens might attempt to destroy it before humans could deploy it. "Run the test at 10% power," Jake ordered. "We'll fire it into the empty space between Jupiter and Saturn. If anyone asks, we'll say it was a mining accident." Captain Ben Taylor was patrolling the outer edges of the construction zone in his small ship. His mission was to watch for Federation spy ships or curious traders. So far, their security had been flawless. No unauthorized ships had come near New Terra. Ben's ship appeared to be a normal human patrol vessel, equipped with the same weapons and shields as other human military ships, but it carried specialized equipment that could jam alien sensors and communication systems. If a Federation ship got too close, Ben could ensure they saw nothing significant. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter was ideal for concealing their secret. Thousands of rocks floated in space, and human mining ships constantly moved among them. From the outside, New Terra looked like just another large asteroid. Federation satellites couldn't differentiate. Inside New Terra, thousands of workers completed the final details. The ship contained cities, farms, factories, and military bases. It could sustain 1 million people for decades without resupplying. But most importantly, it possessed enough weapons to combat the entire Galactic Federation. Colonel Steve Parker managed communication with Earth's government. Each month, he sent coded reports about their progress. The president and military leaders on Earth knew about Project Titan but maintained the secret meticulously. Even most humans were unaware of what was transpiring in the asteroid belt. Earth Command wants to know when we'll be ready for operation, Steve told Jake during their weekly meeting. Tell them we need 3 more months, Jake replied. The weapons testing is almost complete, but we need time to train the crew. When we reveal new Terra to the galaxy, we can't make any mistakes. Lisa Carter walked through the engine room, personally inspecting every system. New Terra's engines were entirely unlike anything the Federation had ever seen. Humans had secretly developed new technology, building upon concepts the aliens deemed impossible. The engines can propel us to twice the speed of any Federation warship, Lisa explained to her team. And they're so quiet that most sensors won't detect us until we're right on top of them. Ryan Phillips monitored communication channels across the galaxy. His job was to ascertain the Federation's thoughts and plans. The intelligence reports showed that the aliens remained completely oblivious to humanity's true capabilities. The Vorac are building up their military, Ryan reported. Intelligence suggests they're planning something big. The Athereals are worried about Vorac expansion, but the Federation Council can't agree on how to respond. Jake had anticipated this. The Federation was weak because its members could never effectively cooperate. Each species prioritized its own interests. When trouble arose, they argued instead of acting. That was why humans had built new Terra. The galaxy was not a safe place for weak species. Peace endured only as long as the strong species permitted it. Humans had learned this lesson well. Dr. Amanda Foster made final adjustments to the targeting systems. Each weapon could strike targets millions of miles away with perfect accuracy. The Federation's best warships would never even see what destroyed them. We're not just building a warship, Amanda told her assistant. We're building a guarantee that humanity will never be helpless again. Jake Morrison reviewed the progress reports one last time. In 3 months, new Terra would be ready. Then, the galaxy would discover that humans were not the simple workers the Federation believed them to be. The aliens had made one crucial mistake. They had given humans access to advanced technology and raw materials, thinking humans could only use them for basic purposes. Instead, humans had spent 50 years quietly building something that would change everything. Soon, it would be time to show the galaxy what humanity could truly do. Captain Ben Taylor was halfway through his patrol route when his ship's alarm system shrieked. Emergency signals flooded the communication channels. Something terrible was happening in the Zephyr system. Ben quickly changed course toward the distress signals. The Zephirians were one of the galaxy's most peaceful species. They had never harmed anyone. Their planets were filled with artists, scientists, and philosophers who spent their time creating beautiful things and studying the universe. As Ben's ship jumped into the Zephyr system, he couldn't believe what he saw. Vorac warships filled the space around Zephyr Prime, hundreds of them. The reptilian warriors were known for being aggressive, but this was different. This wasn't a military operation. This was slaughter. Federation Emergency Channel. This is Captain Taylor of the human patrol vessel Liberty. Ben broadcast. I am witnessing a massive Vorac fleet attacking civilian targets in the Zephyr system. Request immediate assistance. The response came from a board Federation operator. Captain Taylor, please file a formal incident report. The Federation Council will review your complaint and respond within 7 to 10 standard days. Ben stared at his communication panel in shock. Operator, they are killing millions of innocent beings right now. This is genocide, not a border dispute. Captain, please follow proper procedures. The Federation does not authorize military intervention without full Council approval. Ben watched in horror as Vorac ships fired their main weapons at Zephyr Prime. The beautiful crystal cities that had stood for thousands of years turned into clouds of glowing dust. Entire continents disappeared under the bombardment. Refugee ships tried to escape the dying planet. Most of them were just civilian transports with no weapons or shields. The Vorac fighters hunted them down like wild animals. Ben could hear the death screams over his radio as families were vaporized in space. He wanted to help, but his single patrol ship carried only light weapons against hundreds of Vorac warships. He would die without saving anyone. All he could do was record everything and hope someone would care enough to act. On Earth, President Kate Williams was eating breakfast when her emergency communicator started buzzing. She answered it immediately. The voice belonged to Colonel Steve Parker, and he sounded shaken. "Madam President, you need to see this immediately. The Vorac Empire has launched a full-scale attack on the Zephirian colonies. Captain Taylor is transmitting live footage from the Zephyr system." Kate rushed to the Situation Room where her military advisors were already gathering. The main screen showed the destruction of Zephyr Prime in real time. She watched as billions of peaceful beings died while their cities burned. "What is the Federation's response?" she asked. "Nothing," Colonel Parker replied. "They say they need to hold council meetings and file paperwork. By the time they decide to act, every Zephirian in the galaxy will be dead." Kate had seen enough violence in her life, but this was different. The Zephirians had never threatened anyone. They were artists and thinkers who just wanted to create beautiful things. Now they were being murdered for no reason except that the Vorac enjoyed killing. "Get me Admiral Morrison on a secure channel," she ordered. "It's time." Deep in the asteroid belt, Admiral Jake Morrison received the call he had been expecting for years. President Williams appeared on his private screen, and he could see the anger in her eyes. "Jake, I'm authorizing Protocol 7 through 9. Show them what humanity can do." Jake had hoped this day would never come. He had hoped the galaxy species could learn to live in peace without anyone needing to use terrible weapons. But the Vorac had made that impossible. "Understood, Madam President. New Terra will be ready to deploy in 6 hours." Dr. Amanda Foster was in the Weapons Control Center when the authorization came through. She had spent 20 years designing the most powerful weapons ever built by any species. She had hoped they would never be used. Now she began the startup sequence for systems that could destroy entire star systems. "All weapon systems are online," Amanda reported. "Main cannon is charging, secondary batteries are ready. We have enough firepower to level 1,000 worlds." Commander Ryan Phillips activated every spy satellite and listening post humanity had built over the past 50 years. The intelligence network, completely unknown to the Federation, surged to life. Information from across the galaxy flooded in. "The Vorac have committed their entire military to this operation," Ryan reported. "They're not just attacking Zephyr Prime, they're hitting every Zephirian colony simultaneously. This is planned genocide." General Marcus Kane took his position on New Terra's bridge. The command center was built inside what appeared to be a mountain range on the artificial planet's surface. From space, it looked like just another rocky hill, but inside, it controlled enough destructive power to end civilizations. "All stations report ready," Marcus announced. "Engine room confirms we can reach the Zephyr system in 4 hours at maximum speed." Chief Engineer Lisa Carter watched her massive engines come online for the first time at full power. The energy readings were incredible. New Terra would move faster than any ship the galaxy had ever seen. More importantly, it would arrive before the Federation even finished arguing about what to do. Captain Sarah Johnson monitored communication channels across the galaxy. Every government was receiving reports about the Zephirian massacre. Most were doing nothing. The few species that wanted to help lacked the military power to challenge the Vorac Empire. "The Athereals are calling for emergency council sessions," Sarah reported. "The Crean hives are moving their fleets to defensive positions around their home worlds. Everyone is scared that they might be next." Back in the Zephyr system, Captain Ben Taylor continued his grim duty of recording the destruction. 3 billion Zephirians had lived on the main planet. Now there were maybe a few thousand survivors scattered in damaged ships trying to escape. "This is Captain Taylor reporting to Earth Command." Ben transmitted on an encrypted channel. "Zephyr Prime is gone. The Vorac are systematically destroying every Zephirian settlement. I estimate they will finish their extermination program within 12 hours. Admiral Morrison listened to Ben's report while New Terra's massive engines pushed them toward their first battle. The artificial planet moved through space like a silent mountain, its true nature hidden beneath layers of rock and metal disguised as natural terrain. "This is Admiral Morrison to all department heads," Jake announced over the ship's communication system. "We are about to reveal humanity's true capabilities to the galaxy. The Vorac have chosen to commit genocide against innocent beings. We will show them that such actions have consequences." Dr. Amanda Foster ran final checks on the main cannon. The weapon was built into an entire continental shelf on New Terra's surface. When fired, it would release more energy than most stars produced in a year. Nothing in the galaxy could survive a direct hit. President Williams addressed the emergency session of Earth's military leadership. Her message was simple and clear. "For 50 years, we have tried to find our place in this galaxy through diplomacy and cooperation. We have been patient while other species treated us as inferior. We have followed Federation laws and procedures, even when they were unfair to us." She paused to look at each person in the room. "But we will not stand by and watch genocide. Today, the galaxy learns that humanity is not weak. Today, they learn that some lines cannot be crossed without consequences." New Terra accelerated toward the Zephyr system, carrying with it the end of everything the galaxy thought it knew about human capabilities. The Vorac fleet was celebrating their easy victory when their sensors detected something impossible. Admiral Kresh, the reptilian commander of the invasion force, studied the readings with his cold, yellow eyes. His 3,000 warships had just finished destroying the last Zephirian colony when the alert started screaming. "What is that thing?" Kresh hissed at his sensor operator. "Unknown, sir. It appears to be a rogue planet moving at impossible speeds. The gravitational readings are enormous, but it's not following any natural orbital path." Kresh's scales rippled with amusement. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen anything so ridiculous. A planet cannot move on its own. Check your equipment for malfunctions. But the readings remained consistent. Something the size of a small moon was approaching their position at speeds that should have torn any natural object apart. The Vorac fleet turned to face this new curiosity, their weapons ready to destroy whatever trick their enemies were trying to play. On New Terra's bridge, General Marcus Kane watched the enemy fleet arrange itself in battle formation. The Vorac ships looked like tiny insects compared to the massive planet ship. Each one of their warships could destroy a city, but New Terra could destroy entire worlds. "Admiral Morrison, we are in position," Marcus reported. "The Vorac fleet is directly ahead. They appear to be confused by our appearance." Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center that was built to look like a natural cave system. Outside, New Terra's surface appeared to be nothing but rocks and craters. The Vorac had no idea they were looking at the most powerful weapon ever built. "Open communication channels on all galactic frequencies," Jake ordered. "It's time to introduce ourselves." Chief Communications Officer Tony Rogers activated the massive transmission array hidden beneath New Terra's fake mountain ranges. Every ship, space station, and government in the galaxy would receive this message. The revelation that would change everything was about to begin. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Terran Defense Force, aboard the warship New Terra." Jake's voice echoed across space. "Vorac fleet, you have exactly 1 hour to withdraw from Zephirian space and surrender yourselves for trial." The silence that followed lasted only a few seconds before Admiral Kresh began laughing. The sound was like rocks scraping together, harsh and unpleasant. "Humans!" Kresh roared with amusement. "You pathetic builders think you can threaten the Vorac Empire? We have 3,000 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy. You have one oversized rock." The laughter spread through the Vorac communication channels. Reptilian voices mocked the humans who dared to challenge their mighty fleet. To them, this was the funniest joke they had heard in years. On the planet Korath, homeworld of the Ethereal Council, beings of pure energy watched the transmission with growing alarm. The Athereals had always considered themselves the most advanced species in the galaxy. They had studied human technology for decades and found it primitive and unimpressive. This cannot be correct. Elder Zephirian flickered with confusion. Our analysis shows that humans lack the capability to construct vessels of this magnitude. Their largest ships are barely the size of our scout vessels, but their sensors confirmed what their minds could not accept. The object approaching the Vorac fleet was indeed artificial, and it was enormous beyond their understanding. In the insectoid hives of Crean space, millions of worker drones stopped their activities to process this information. The Crean had worked alongside humans on countless construction projects. They thought they understood human building capabilities completely. Queen Vesa of the primary hive transmitted her confusion to her sister queens. The humans we know could not create such a structure. Either our understanding is incorrect, or these are not the same humans we have been working with. Back in the Zephyr system, Dr. Amanda Foster began charging new Terra's weapon systems. The main cannon required so much power that entire sections of the planet ship dimmed as energy flowed toward the massive weapon arrays. All weapons are charging, Amanda reported. Main cannon will be ready to fire in 30 minutes. Secondary batteries are online and ready for immediate use. Admiral Kresh received reports from his sensor officers about energy readings coming from the human planet. The numbers made no sense. No weapon system could generate that much power without destroying itself. Impossible, Kresh snarled. Their readings are wrong. No species has ever built weapons that powerful. Fire a warning shot at their hull. When they see our firepower, they will surrender like the cowards they are. The Vorac fleet opened fire with their forward batteries. Hundreds of energy beams and explosive missiles streaked toward New Terra's surface. The weapons that had destroyed Zephirian cities struck the artificial planet with tremendous force. Explosions bloomed across New Terra's fake terrain like deadly flowers. The attack was powerful enough to crack a moon's surface and kill millions of people. When the energy dissipated, Admiral Kresh expected to see a broken and burning wreck begging for mercy. Instead, his sensors showed minimal damage, a few scorch marks on what he now realized was not rock at all, but some kind of advanced armor plating. The planet continued moving toward his fleet as if nothing had happened. Commander Ryan Phillips monitored communication channels across the galaxy as governments realized what they were witnessing. Emergency sessions were being called in every major capital. Military leaders were demanding explanations that no one could provide. The Federation Council is in complete chaos, Ryan reported. Half of them think this is some kind of hoax. The other half are demanding to know how humanity built something like this without their knowledge. On Earth, President Kate Williams watched the battle unfold from the Situation Room. Her military advisors sat in stunned silence as they realized the implications of what they were seeing. Humanity had built a weapon that made every other military force in the galaxy obsolete. Captain Sarah Johnson intercepted dozens of encrypted messages as alien governments tried to understand what was happening. The Athereals were recalculating everything they thought they knew about human technology. The Crean hives were reviewing 50 years of construction projects, looking for clues they had missed. Every major government is trying to contact Earth directly, Sarah reported. They're bypassing the Federation completely. They want to negotiate with us as equals. Admiral Morrison smiled grimly. After 50 years of being treated as simple laborers, humanity was finally getting the respect they deserved. But the lesson was not over yet. Charge the main cannon to full power, Jake ordered. It's time to show them what happens when you commit genocide against innocent beings. Chief Weapons Officer Lisa Carter activated the primary weapon system deep inside New Terra. Machinery the size of cities began to hum with deadly energy. The main cannon was built into an entire continental shelf, disguised as a natural mountain range. Admiral Kresh watched in growing alarm as energy readings from the human vessel climbed beyond anything his sensors had ever detected. The power levels were approaching those of a small star. Whatever weapon the humans had built, it was about to fire. All ships, prepare for evasive maneuvers, Kresh ordered, his confident laughter replaced by nervous tension. Ready all weapons for concentrated fire on their weapon systems. But it was too late. New Terra's main cannon had finished charging, and Admiral Morrison was ready to demonstrate why humanity should never be underestimated again. The galaxy was about to witness the most devastating display of firepower in recorded history. Admiral Kresh gave the order that would doom his entire fleet. All ships, concentrate fire on that human vessel. Show them the power of the Vorac Empire. 3,000 warships opened fire at the same time. The combined firepower was enough to destroy planets and burn solar systems. Energy beams, explosive missiles, and plasma cannons all struck New Terra's surface within seconds of each other. The explosions were so bright that they could be seen from neighboring star systems. The attack created fireballs larger than most moons. Any normal planet would have been cracked in half and turned into floating debris. On New Terra's bridge, General Marcus Kane watched the enemy fire impact their armor without concern. The artificial planet shook slightly from the massive explosions, but the damage was minimal. What looked like natural rock formations were actually the strongest armor ever created by any species. "Damage report," Marcus requested calmly. Chief Engineer Lisa Carter checked her readings and almost smiled. "Surface armor has some scorch marks in sections 7 through 12. No structural damage. All systems operating normally." The Vorac fleet sensors showed the same impossible result. Their most powerful weapons had barely scratched the human vessel. Admiral Kresh stared at his display screens in growing horror. His 3,000 ships had just fired everything they had, and it was not enough. "Impossible," Kresh whispered. "No armor can withstand that level of concentrated fire." But New Terra continued moving toward the Vorac fleet as if nothing had happened. The planet ship was now close enough that the reptilian warriors could see the fake mountain ranges and crater patterns on its surface. They still could not believe it was actually a weapon. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in his command center, watching the enemy fleet realize their situation. He felt no joy in what was about to happen. The Vorac had chosen this path when they decided to murder innocent beings. "Open communication channels one final time," Jake ordered. His voice reached every ship in the Vorac fleet and every government monitoring the situation. "Admiral Kresh, you have seen that your weapons cannot harm us. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated according to galactic law. Continue fighting and face the consequences." Kresh's response was predictable. The reptilian commander had built his reputation on never backing down from a fight, even facing impossible odds. His pride would not let him surrender to humans. "Never!" Kresh roared. "The Vorac Empire bows to no one, especially not to primitive builders. We will fight until our last ship is destroyed." Jake Morrison sighed. He had hoped the Vorac would choose wisdom over pride. Now he would have to show the galaxy what happened when someone pushed humanity too far. "Dr. Foster, you are authorized to fire." Dr. Amanda Foster had spent 20 years designing the main cannon. She had run thousands of computer simulations, but never fired it at full power. Her hand hesitated for just a moment over the firing control before she pressed the button that would change galactic history. Main cannon firing. Deep inside New Terra, machinery the size of cities activated. The weapon built into an entire continental shelf began to discharge energy that had been building for the past hour. What emerged from the artificial mountain was not just a weapon beam. It was concentrated destruction on a scale the galaxy had never imagined. The beam that shot out from New Terra was wider than most space stations. It contained more focused energy than many stars produced in an entire year. The light was so bright that it temporarily blinded sensors across the solar system. The beam cut through the Vorac fleet like a laser cutting through paper. Ships that had taken years to build and carried crews of thousands were simply erased from existence. The energy was so intense that it turned metal, flesh, and bone into elementary particles in microseconds. Admiral Kresh had just enough time to see the beam approaching his flagship before he and his entire crew became part of an expanding cloud of superheated plasma. His last thought was disbelief that humans possessed such terrible power. In 17 seconds, 3,000 Vorac warships ceased to exist. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had been reduced to glowing gas drifting through space. Not one enemy ship survived the demonstration of New Terra's main weapon. Captain Sarah Johnson monitored communication channels across the galaxy as governments realized what they had just witnessed. The silence that followed the destruction lasted for several minutes before frantic messages began flooding every frequency. "Every major government is trying to contact us immediately," Sarah reported. "The Athereal Council is requesting emergency negotiations. The Crean Queens are withdrawing all their fleets to defensive positions. Even the Federation Council has stopped their meeting to demand explanations." On the planet Korath, Elder Zephirian of the Ethereal Council flickered with fear for the first time in his 1,000-year existence. The beings of pure energy had always believed they were the most advanced species in the galaxy. Now they realized they had been completely wrong about human capabilities. "Send an immediate message to Earth," Zephirian ordered his subordinates. "Request direct communication with their leadership. We must negotiate new agreements immediately." In Crean space, Queen Vesa transmitted urgent commands to her sister queens. The insectoid species had worked alongside humans for decades, never suspecting their true abilities. Now they understood that humanity had been hiding incredible secrets. "All military units return to home systems," Vesa ordered. "Prepare defensive positions, but do not take any actions that could be seen as threatening to human interests." Captain Ben Taylor, still patrolling in his small ship, watched the aftermath of the battle in stunned silence. He had seen the Vorac fleet destroy entire planets just hours earlier. Now that same fleet was nothing but drifting particles in space. "This is Captain Taylor reporting to Earth Command," Ben transmitted. "The Vorac fleet has been completely destroyed. There are no survivors. New Terra appears undamaged and is continuing patrol of the area." Commander Ryan Phillips received intelligence reports from across the galaxy as every government tried to understand the new reality. Military leaders were recalculating their defense strategies. Diplomatic corps were preparing emergency negotiations. Everyone wanted to be on humanity's good side. "Intelligence reports show complete military stand down by all major powers," Ryan announced. "No government wants to be the next target of our weapons." President Kate Williams addressed the emergency session of Earth's government leaders. The room was filled with people who had authorized the secret construction of New Terra, but never fully understood its capabilities until now. "The demonstration is complete," she announced. "The galaxy now understands that humanity will not tolerate genocide or unprovoked attacks on innocent beings." Admiral Morrison opened communication channels to broadcast his final message to every government in the galaxy. His words would establish the new rules that everyone would live by. "This is Admiral Morrison aboard New Terra. What you have witnessed today is the result of 50 years of human engineering and determination. We built this vessel not for conquest, but to ensure that no species would ever again face extinction at the hands of aggressors." He paused to let his words reach every listening post and government center across the galaxy. Humanity has 11 more vessels of new Terra's class currently under construction. We call them our peacekeepers. Any government that targets civilian populations or commits acts of genocide will face the same fate as the Vorac fleet. The message was simple and clear. The age of galactic bullies was over. Humanity had the power to enforce peace, and they were not afraid to use it. Dr. Amanda Foster powered down the main cannon systems, but she knew they would need to be ready again soon. Other aggressive species would test humanity's resolve. When they did, they would learn the same lesson the Vorac had just learned. The galaxy would never be the same again. 6 months after the destruction of the Vorac fleet, the galaxy operated under completely new rules. The old Federation Council building on Nexus Prime had been redesigned to accommodate human representatives. What used to be called the Galactic Federation was now officially known as the Terran Peacekeeping Authority. President Kate Williams walked into the main assembly hall where representatives from every known species waited nervously for her arrival. The same aliens who had once treated humans as simple workers now stood when she entered the room. Fear and respect had a way of changing attitudes quickly. The galaxy has been at peace for 6 months, Kate announced to the assembly. No major conflicts, no genocides, no unprovoked attacks on civilian populations. This is what happens when aggressive species understand there will be consequences for their actions. Elder Zephirian of the Athereal Council flickered with nervous energy as he responded. The beings of pure light had once considered themselves the most advanced species in existence. Now they knew better. President Williams, the Ethereal Council wishes to formally apologize for our previous underestimation of human capabilities. We request permission to study your defensive technologies in exchange for our advanced energy manipulation techniques. Kate smiled politely. Dr. Amanda Foster will review your proposal, but remember, we share technology only with species that demonstrate a commitment to peace. Queen Vesa of the Crean spoke through her translator device. The insectoid queen had personally supervised human construction projects for decades without realizing what humanity was really building. The Crean hives offer our complete construction capabilities to support human peacekeeping efforts. We wish to help build defensive stations and supply bases for your planet ships. Admiral Jake Morrison participated in the meeting through quantum communication from New Terra. His image appeared on the main screen, showing him standing on what looked like a natural observation deck. Behind him, the artificial planet's fake landscape stretched to the horizon. We appreciate the offers of cooperation, Jake said, but understand that our peacekeeping mission is not negotiable. Any species that threatens innocent civilians will face the same fate as the Vorac Empire. Colonel Steve Parker, now serving as Earth's chief military coordinator, presented reports on the galaxy's new stability. Crime rates had dropped dramatically across civilized space. Pirates and raiders had either stopped their activities or fled to the Outer Rim territories. 12 species have requested permission to adopt human defensive technologies, Steve reported. The Zephirian survivors want to rebuild their colonies using our construction methods. The Harmonics are asking for protection against any future aggressive expansion by neighboring species. Dr. Amanda Foster worked from her laboratory on New Terra, but her influence now reached across the galaxy. Governments that had once ignored human science were now begging for access to her innovations. The same weapons technology that destroyed the Vorac fleet was being adapted for peaceful purposes. We've shared basic defensive shield technology with 6 species so far, Amanda explained during her monthly report. The energy efficiency improvements alone have revolutionized their power generation systems. They're calling it the Human Revolution. Captain Ben Taylor now commanded a small fleet of patrol ships that monitored the Outer Rim territories. His job was to watch for any remaining aggressive species that might test humanity's resolve. So far, most threats had disappeared without requiring intervention. The Outer Rim is quieter than it's been in centuries, Ben reported from his flagship. Most of the pirate gangs have either disbanded or moved beyond our sensor range. The few remaining threats are avoiding any systems under human protection. General Marcus Kane remained aboard New Terra as the planet ship continued its patrol route through former conflict zones. The massive vessel moved silently through space, its presence alone enough to prevent most disputes from escalating into violence. We've prevented 17 potential conflicts just by appearing in threatened systems, Marcus reported. Most species prefer negotiation when they know the alternative is facing our weapons. Commander Ryan Phillips had expanded his intelligence network to cover the entire galaxy. The information system that had once been humanity's secret was now openly acknowledged as the most effective early warning system ever created. Intelligence reports show a 97% reduction in military buildup among major powers, Ryan announced. Most governments are converting their military production facilities to civilian purposes. There's simply no point in building weapons that can't compete with human technology. Captain Sarah Johnson monitored communication channels that now carried very different messages than they had 6 months earlier. Instead of threats and military posturing, the galactic networks were filled with requests for trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. Communication traffic shows increased cooperation between species that were previously hostile to each other, Sarah reported. The Crean and Athereals are working together on joint scientific projects. Former enemies are becoming trading partners. On Earth, construction had begun on 12 new planet ships, but these vessels were different from New Terra and its sisters. They were designed primarily for rescue and humanitarian missions, though they still carried enough weapons to defend themselves against any conceivable threat. President Williams addressed the construction teams building these new vessels. "We are not building an empire based on fear. We are creating a galaxy where peace is enforced by those strong enough to maintain it." The Zephirian survivors had established a new colony under human protection. Their crystal cities were rising again, more beautiful than before. Artists and philosophers who had nearly been extinct were creating works that celebrated their survival and their human protectors. Dr. Amanda Foster received a message from the Zephirian Council of Elders. They wanted to name their new capital city after her, calling it Foster Prime in honor of the woman whose weapons had avenged their people. "I'm honored," Amanda replied, "but name it Hope Prime instead. That's what we're really building here. Hope for a galaxy where innocent beings don't have to fear extinction." Admiral Morrison watched from New Terra's bridge as his vessel passed through the rebuilt Zephyr system. Where once there had been burning ruins, new settlements were taking shape under the protection of human peacekeepers. "This is what we wanted all along," Jake reflected. "Not conquest or domination, but a galaxy where species can develop in peace without fear of aggressive neighbors." The 12 planet ships of humanity's peacekeeping fleet moved through their assigned patrol routes like silent guardians. Each one was capable of ending entire civilizations, but their real power lay in preventing conflicts before they could begin. In the Outer Rim territories, reports reached human intelligence about species that had fled galactic civilization rather than accept the new order. These beings still believed in conquest and domination, but they no longer had the power to threaten anyone under human protection. Colonel Parker reviewed the long-term strategic situation with President Williams. "Some aggressive species have moved beyond our immediate reach, but they no longer pose a threat to civilized space. The galaxy has learned that there are consequences for targeting innocent beings." The transformation was complete. Humanity had gone from being dismissed as simple builders to becoming the galaxy's ultimate arbiters of peace. They had not sought power for its own sake, but had claimed it to protect those who could not protect themselves. As New Terra continued its eternal patrol through the stars, Admiral Morrison looked out at the peaceful galaxy his species had created. The age of galactic bullies was truly over. The age of enforced peace had begun. And in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, construction continued on vessels that would make even the planet ships look small, because humanity had learned the most important lesson of all. Peace was only possible when good beings possessed the power to enforce it against those who would destroy it.